stream that I did on a long ride. Setting my camera up this time. Heading back down to South Project Allen. I do have a Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus. I think the body shop left something in my car. On the way up here, I felt a bump, and this was wedged between the frame and the jackpot puck hole. And thanks to Discount Tire, they were kind enough to help me remove it. Otherwise, I would probably be stuck here having to wait for Tesla to give me a tow to Corpus Christi, which would be costly. We're driving from Laredo, Texas. I'm going all the way to South Padre Island, but I'll just do this stream till Mcallen. I'm charging up to full right now. I have about 5 minutes left on that. I just have a Standard Range Plus. So I'm maxing out about 216 miles on a full charge, approximately. After doing a total of 90,000 miles on this car in 1 year. Using an app called Stats, it's telling me I have an estimated range of 158 miles. With my normal consumption of power in the car, be that AC or charging phones, etc. So we will estimate for that. Tesla pretty much says I'm ready to go, but 5 minutes till full charge. Drops way down once it gets over 80%. So I'm at 4 kilowatts right now as it's charging. I've added 70 miles after getting up here. It's telling me I should have 8% when I get to Mcallen. But there are ways to adjust that while driving. I just have this camera here mounted. This is for the fun of it. It's kind of hard for me to check messages while driving, but there is really no interstates on this ride back, but I still use autopilot as much as possible while driving. I'm not sure if the signal will stay up or if there'll be some dropouts. So if anybody is watching, you can just give a thumbs up or send a chat. I might see it. I do have the camera mounted in the passenger seat, so it's not blocking any of my view. You can see me in the rearview mirror a little bit, I guess. Oh, it's kind of hard for me to look at that at the same time. What is it seeing? Oh, it's seeing way over here. Okay, so if I can get right here, you might see me. All right. But anyway, I just thought I'll go ahead and do another live stream just for the fun of it, for a few hour drive. And like I said, just waiting for this to charge up a little bit to continue my trip. If you do buy a Tesla, I highly recommend the long range. Even if you're going to sit there and say, I'm only going to use it around town, I'm never going to go more than 200 miles a day. Because I can almost guarantee you, you're going to love the car so much, you're going to want to drive it all the time. You will never get out of that car. When I bought mine, it was like I was planning to just use it every now and then around town and stick with my Tahoe for long trips. My Tahoe has not been touched in over a year. Now I'm going to begin this trip. 5 minutes always keeps being 5 minutes for hours. I don't know. Tesla needs to fix that. on the charging. Okay, so I've disconnected from the charger. Begin our trip. Let me see if the stream is actually active or not. Okay, it is active. Okay. So we can look at the energy consumption usage. It's saying we should have 9% by the time we get there. By adjusting the way you drive, being a little more milder and what have you, you can actually get that number up there higher. We're going to see if we can get it to like 15. See if we can buy 6 extra percent as opposed to what Tesla's recommending or what Tesla's computing. And I'm going to disable the navigation voice. I helped a friend out the other day buy a Tesla Model Y long range with the full self-driving package. He is extremely happy with it. He is Chinese. It's nice that we can get the voice recognition, the screen display, and everything to recognize Chinese. But navigation does not have Chinese option. I was trying to find my tripod that'd be more steady for the phone in the car while driving, but I could not find one little connector for that tripod. So right now I'm still using my cell phone mount that has a kind of a spring-loaded adjustable motion control is taking care of that. As far as what SpaceX has going on, I don't know for sure. Seems like all the road closures and beach closures have been canceled for this week. They moved serial number 20 over to the test platforms. The booster hasn't left a high bay yet. Last I saw. Now, sometimes, you know, Uber in a regular car is not really worth it. In this situation, I had a ride bring me all the way up to Laredo, Texas. A 4-hour drive. We had to stop and charge to get them up here. And it gets me 4 hours up here. I think the customer paid something like $220 or something like that for the ride. I know Uber only paid me $130. So if you're driving a regular gas car, this is a lot of money to spend in gasoline to come up here drop someone off, and then have to drive back on your own, or hope you find a ride going back your way, which is very unlikely. Anybody's going to want to go this distance. So a lot of drivers, if they do this, they will have to sit up here and wait and hope for another ride. However, in a Tesla, supercharging is pretty inexpensive. Plus all that, the mileage is still tax deductible at 56 cents a mile for travel expenses. So I can tell you right now, I'm definitely not spending 56 cents a mile on this car. So the tax deduction kind of counts as a profit. Talk to your accountant on that, wherever you are, if you want to look into this. And you do wear the car a lot more, and you burn up a lot more energy in the car doing Uber, especially a lot of short trips, short rides, because we don't take in consideration that every time you open that car door, you're letting all that car cold air out, and you got to recool the car again. So it works hard those times of recooling, and that burns up more energy at that time. Even in a gas car, your car is working a lot to keep the car cool. Especially, I don't know if you could make it out there, but the current temperature outside is 108 degrees. It was 113 a little bit earlier, but the sun's going down, so it's cooling off a little bit. I have watched a few other YouTube channels. There's a guy who does a car repair channel, just recently started checking out a few Teslas, and he seems to think the Tesla AC is the worst AC he's ever had or seen in his life. I kind of disagree. I think this AC really works quite well. But how much do you want to crank the temperature down and sacrifice your miles when driving? It's not really as bad as heating, mainly because the car is trying to keep the battery cool anyway. And so I noticed that if I drop the temperature down to 70, I get about the same kilowatts per mile as I do if it's at 76 or 80 with 100-degree temperature outside. I have left it in camping mode on low once, and it kept the cabin at 47 degrees for about 5 hours at 90 degrees outside. We had a bunch of groceries in the car, kept them nice and crisp. I can't remember how many miles I lost then. So on this trek, I have a 2-hour and 47-minute drive, 146 miles is the destination. I have 210 miles on my charge. However, the app called Stats says I have an estimated range of 154 miles. So yeah, it should have 9 miles left when I get there. This is the closest supercharger between here. These are long stretches. It'll be nice if Tesla can ramp up and get more superchargers. About 75 miles from each other would be nice. There is still a lot of places I could not go, or I have a very hard time going, like Roswell, New Mexico. But it's still doable. I can get to Roswell, but I have to use the destination charger for many hours to be able to get back out. And again, I have a standard range. If I had the long range, that'd give me a little over 100 miles more. Plus, it charges faster. And even to go the equivalent range like now, it would still be under 80% of the battery's capacity to make this range, which means I would not have to sit there and supercharge as long, because I would not have to go up to 100%. I'm only going up to 80%. So that would make your trips faster, in all honesty. I am happy with the standard range. At the time when I purchased this, I had a choice. Do I get the long range model, or do I get the standard range model and go ahead and purchase the full self-driving package? I went in and purchased the full self-driving package for my car. I'm very happy with it. I am hoping one day Tesla will allow us to upgrade the battery pack, especially if newer battery formulas come out. I mean, hey, I wouldn't mind paying a little extra, you know. Hey, charge me $15,000 to change my car into a long range afterwards. You know, yeah, it might be more expensive than to buy a long range in the first place, but I think after so many miles, once that battery starts seeing a degradation, like mine has, I've gone from 240 on a full charge down to 218 or 216. So losing about 14 miles there. If I had an option to go ahead and spend money and upgrade it to a long range with a new fresh battery in there, I would do that. I would. Keeping the full self-driving with it. Yeah, they would have to drop in a new motor, and technically the cavity is there for the second motor. But even if they didn't put in a second motor, if they want to just put the bigger battery pack and the bigger inverter in there, and maybe not have as much range, but get it closer to the 300 mile range, that would be something I would consider as well. The car itself physically has the void for the second motor in the body. If the physical connections for that second motor is there and just plugged, I don't know. I would kind of imagine they are. Since they're trying to build these as fast as they could, it seems like they would have everything there ready for it to be a long range and just not put the motor in and just have the standard range. Why have two different harness connections and stuff when you can just use one and just have the second motors capped? Just engaging the autopilot, letting it do most of the driving for me. And yeah, the fools who circumvent the car to drive without while they're in the back seat, they're fools. That's stupid, and that guy just kind of blows through the yellow light or red light there. That was definitely red. The Tesla, when it sees a light go yellow, it knows from history from other Teslas how long that yellow light is. So I've noticed sometimes if I'm close to that yellow light, it will go ahead and go through it. It won't break suddenly for most yellow lights, unless it knows it can't make it. So it does a pretty good job on that. I can't fault the Tesla for that. Some of these flashing lights, they're not really stop lights, but the way they're structured, the camera thinks it may be a regular light. They're flashing yellow lights. So the camera sometimes thinks it might be a green light going to yellow, then red, and wants to kind of brake. It did brake a little bit, but not too much there. So it is doing, being on the safe side. And I keep thinking I can use a Coke refill. Coke is not good for you, but hey, I drank way too much of it. So yeah, I mean, to drive up here, a 3-hour drive north to drop someone off, and then drive back 3 more hours, it's 6 hours, and you get paid $130. It's not much, really. I mean, it depends on what you think your time is worth. But like I say, when you look at the price of supercharging and charging the car and the maintenance on the car, it doesn't hurt much for me. Other Uber drivers, they are so upset with it. Uber's taking more and more. I think out of that $130 I made, when I looked, Uber made close to $80, and they're not doing any of the driving. They're just routing the ride request to me. They're not providing anything else to me. They're not paying for my gas. They're not paying for my vehicle. But yet they're taking such a large percentage for doing nothing. I don't think it's fair. I think Uber should, have a flat fee. But I don't know what y'all think about that. I don't know if y'all know that they do that. So if you do take Ubers, be sure to tip the guys, because they're losing some money. A lot of short rides may only pay $2 or $3, and at the current gas prices and what have you, they spend most of the day trying to make up for what they spend in gas to drive for that day. Because you may look at your ride that it cost, that he made $2 to pick you up and drop you off. But they didn't get paid to go pick you up. So if they were 8 miles away, 10 miles away, that they have to pay for. And if you're driving a bigger car, like if I was driving my Tahoe that gets a good old 16 miles to a gallon, and I go to pick you up, and I have to drive 8 miles to pick you up, and your ride is 9 miles, and I get paid $3, well, at 16 miles a gallon, that just pays for the gas. You made nothing. So yeah, people are having a harder time finding Ubers for a lot of reasons, and that's one of them. It'd be nice to be able to start your own app. I've seen that there's like EV apps for EV taxis, but that's very limited areas. There's like the Tesla taxi, stuff like that, but that's not very widespread. And it's just like, for Uber, it wouldn't be hard for them to be able to, since the app is running on my phone, it should be able to monitor the Tesla app to monitor what range I have left on there, and to be able to know where all these superchargers are, so that it doesn't give a driver a ride to someplace they can't get back from. like on this long ride, it'll be difficult. At least the passenger did not mind waiting to supercharge before we headed up here. But we currently have these lawsuits going on towards Tesla. It's hurting the stocks. They're talking about all the accidents, which, it's really not that many accidents over many years. It's like they have it out for Elon Musk. They're trying to do everything they can to hurt Elon. Is there somebody behind it? Let's look at the conspiracy theory. Could Jeff Bezos be behind this? If we can hurt Elon and make Tesla stocks go down, it decreases Elon's net worth, which means Elon can't use his money to build Starship, and then they will have to choose Blue Origin for the lunar lander because Elon might be going broke over fruitful lawsuits. On a side note, if you look into it, if you dive into it, the law firm that is bringing that lawsuit about, I think the same day they had like 20 other lawsuits they were putting out for different companies as well. So they're just doing a mass blanket lawsuits. Which is a shame. We have way too many people suing for no reason. I mean, you put money in the stock market, you're taking a risk. There's no guarantee. But you have to do your research. And you have to go by your gut feeling. And you get some people who just, I don't know. Same for cryptocurrency. Some people think Elon told me to buy cryptocurrency. Like, no, he never told anybody to buy cryptocurrency. And even then, if I told you to go jump off a cliff, would you do it? I mean, we got to think for ourselves. So we've been driving for about 22 minutes now. I mean, when you're driving on autopilot, you have to keep some sort of force on the wheel a little bit so that the car knows that you're paying attention. But I see a problem with that, because if I have a little bit too much force, I accidentally disable that steer on autopilot. And if I'm not paying attention, and if I'm used to having that autopilot all the time, and I start going into turn and it's not turning for me, then I might get in an accident. Having it to be able to have it turn on automatically for you when it can would make it a little safer. And I do think that might be some of the instances of accidents, is that people don't realize that they accidentally disabled the autopilot. I know that, I've tried to show people how to do that, and they can't get used to it. They put too much force on the wheel, and they keep disabling it, so they're not able to use the steering or navigation on autopilot, because they keep disabling it without knowing it. it's like right now, I just made the turn. It would be nice if it automatically engaged for me. And these two lanes are going to merge, so it will take care of that. I'll bump it up to 65 here. For some reason, sometimes it will automatically adjust for me, other times it just doesn't in certain areas, and it's always in the same area. So I don't know if there's some sort of geo-lock on that area that they can't do that for that, or if there might be no data connection to be able to tell if it can do that. We're kind of driving alongside the border to Mexico. Off to the right is the Rio Grande River. It's surprising how many areas are just so desolate. I mean, I've gone through a few towns that so many businesses and houses are boarded up. I'm not sure what happened to them or what happened to that town. But anyway, it seems like there was no issues caused by that socket wrench. I did upload a very quick little video about that. I do have to thank Discount Tire. They really came to the rescue. When I called Tesla roadside, the only thing they could think of doing is having the car at my expense towed to Corpus Christi. I don't know why they couldn't have somebody road service come out just to jack the car and try to pull it out. What Discount Tire did. Even then, being up here, they probably have no road services, so they have to contract to whatever local tow company there is up here to handle that for them. Now, I did notice something when I called the roadside assistance, is that it did say now 24/7. So I don't know if anybody's called on the weekend or after hours. Are they truly 24/7? Of course, that car was going right off the shoulder of the road. I don't know if y'all can see that or hear it. But he definitely doesn't have autopilot. Or a Tesla. Now, I do think it's nice that if you buy a Tesla, you can go ahead and purchase the full self-driving or an autopilot or an advanced autopilot afterwards, or do the subscription. I was watching a video about the Ford Mach-E. Okay, yeah, it's like you bought the Mach-E, now you want to get the full self-driving package. You know, the Ford's Blue Cruise or whatever they call it. You have to go in for the install hardware for it. They don't pre-install it. That's only once you buy it or once you upgrade. And I'm not sure if it's correct, but I heard someone saying that you have to go to the dealership to get software updates. Really? Haven't they learned from Tesla? I mean, it'd be so much easier just to go ahead and do over-the-air software updates on their own personal Wi-Fi or hotspot. But Then again, I know people who have Teslas who will not update their software unless they're near a service center because they're afraid it might brick their car. Because they've had their phone bricked on updates, which is not very common. It really isn't, unless you jailbreak your phone or something. I have a lot of different phones. I do updates all the time on all of my phones, and laptops, and computers, and tablets. I've never really had any get bricked, except for one little Chinese tablet, but it was easy to revert it back and redo the update again. Chewy, I think was the name of the tablet. It had some nice specs back in the day, but now it's ungodly slow. Yes, I'm out of drink. So we've gone 33 minutes into our 2.5 or almost 3 hour drive. Let's see what we're still estimating. 16% battery. Okay, so going a little bit down, but not too bad. I am doing the speed limit, so. And it is a little windy outside. It is also 103 degrees. I'm used to the South Padre Island. You know, over there watching SpaceX over there. It's still around 98 degrees. Being near that Gulf, the water helps keep it cooler. Up through here, I've seen 108, 103, 113 even. And it's telling me to apply force to the steering wheel, mainly because we come to a section where two lanes look like one big wide lane, because they didn't continue the markings in between the two lanes. So the car is having a hard time seeing if that's, where the lanes are. So it will beep and just remind you to apply more pressure to the wheel. I'm not sure if that's choosing which side to stay on. If it wants me to move over to left or right, depending on which direction. I never really paid much attention to it. I usually kept a little bit of increased pressure. I think maybe using the camera in the Tesla, which is located above the rear view mirror, to monitor the driver might be a good option. The pressure on the steering wheel, I can see issues with that. If the car was to suddenly try to make a fast lane change in an emergency situation, you might be holding that wheel a little bit too hard and override it, and ensuing in an accident the car could have gotten you out of it. So I can see a drawback in that. And I've had that happen a few times in a tight turn where the car is trying to turn, but I'm still applying enough pressure on the wheel that I actually disable it in the turn. So to have more of a push, to not have to have that feedback, is the more important thing. And I really think that would make it safer. In the lawsuit that is being filed, they're talking about Tesla hitting emergency vehicles that have flashing lights on and stuff. I really think Tesla needs to jump on that and get the car to recognize that more. Because if I had an emergency vehicle coming up behind me right now with his lights flashing, the car would continue driving where it should pull over. And even right here, we have a solid white line. The car should be able to pull over and know that it can go over that line in an emergency, just not go onto the grass. off the side of the road. But yeah, it needs to be monitoring for emergency vehicles. And even in those instances that they're talking about, that was with radar. And we do know that radar has issues with stationary items. Even though the stationary item has a flashing light on it, it doesn't mean it's not, the radar is going to see the light. It doesn't see light. So switching to a vision system will definitely improve that. And we'll definitely cut down on that. Many a times I've come up to construction areas where there are cones there, and the car will get pretty close and hug those cones, but they've never actually hit the cones. Sometimes it gets close enough that I get nervous that I override and go ahead and drive it myself. But it would be nice to know just, how much margin it gives it. It's been a long day. Had a long night. Good dinner. Good late night dinner. Don't know half of the things I ate, but it was good. And here we're at where they have occasional passing zones on this road. It seems to want to favor the left-hand side, since it has the right-hand side more for the slower vehicles to move to. There's some cute towns through here that I would like to really stop and explore some of these towns between Laredo and Mcallen. But there is nothing. There's no destination chargers. There's no plug share. There's nothing in between these two locations. So I don't have much wiggle room of driving off the beaten path between these two locations. I mean, one of the towns like Rio Grande City, it's a small town. Part of the Rio Grande Valley, naturally, since that's Rio Grande City. I think they might be a good place for the town to drop in a couple destination chargers or something and attract Teslas to the area. Not so much a supercharger, destination charger, where you got to plug in for a couple hours and give you time to look around to see what the town has to offer. And it, once it's installed, it really doesn't cost the location much money for Tesla charging. And when you draw Teslas to you because of that, that helps the town. Now, when trying to route back to the island, Tesla wanted me to go the other direction out towards Kingsville and then back, which adds almost an hour to the trip. But it's a shorter distance between those superchargers. Whereas from Laredo to Mcallen, it's just really pushing my limit. Having to be charged at full just to make this little hop. anybody else, on a long road trip, they would have more peace of mind if there was some destination chargers there, or plug share, or anything. Oh, and another note, I did see a Ford Mach-E the other day on South Padre Island. I didn't get the chance to talk to the owner, but I'm wondering how he's handling it, if he's in the area or if he just traveled down here, because the closest DC supercharging for him would be Corpus Christi, 3.5 hours away. So he's definitely having to slow charge to make it all that way. And here it is, it kind of jerks over to the left because of the lanes splitting with the passing lane for vehicles. It's going to be nice if that was a little more milder instead of jerking so hard. Not sure which direction the wind's in, if it's to my back or if I'm driving into a headwind now. And it looks like my watt hours is going up. Yeah. It's now saying I'll get there with 6% battery. So it's kind of gone down. But I am doing 75 and a 70. So if I drop down to 70, maybe I can pull that back up. Of course, now saying 4% battery. 5%. We can see if we can push this up again to give a little more buffer, since we're only 37 miles into our total trip. 148. This is where some people's range anxiety gets to them. They start panicking. And yeah, for me, I would kind of panic a little bit. That's why I say a destination charger in between would be bad. I can stop, plug in, go eat dinner, add 15, 20 miles to make it a little more comfortable and not as stressful. It is now like 102 degrees outside. I think I get the best of range around 90 degrees outside. I've noticed from my car, my driving habits. I wish if there was a settings on the Tesla to limit the watt hours per mile, so I can dial that physically back to like 275. So that it may be a little bit slower on accelerating. That would help, especially in the standard range on long trips. If the car doesn't think you're going to make it, it will recommend you go a certain speed. So it'll drop the speed down, or recommend you go slower. When you're navigate on autopilot or using full self-driving, it doesn't pay attention to that, which I think is a mistake. That should take into account what's going on with the car. That if the car says don't go over 60 miles per hour, the navigate on autopilot should not jump you up to 70 when you go into a 70 mile per hour zone, which it does do. That acceleration, for one, doesn't help, because that, just like a gas car, whenever you accelerate rapidly, you burn more energy. So I'm going to drop it down to 65 now. even though I have 152 miles of range on the battery right now, and I only have 108 miles to go. And yeah, there was a little yellow thing there behind the thing saying to keep it under 70 to make it to my destination. I think it said under 70. But I think the car has more range anxiety than I do. I've had people tell me that I should not stress about it, that once you hit 0 miles, you have about another 20 miles to go. I don't know. I've never tried it. The lowest I've gotten it down to is 1 mile. Yeah, it's stay below 70 to reach destination. Which I am doing 60. I'm currently in a 55, so. Coming up to a small town of, well, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I'm not good at Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. And there's definitely a lot of towns and stuff here that has heavy Spanish influence, being on the border of Mexico. Braking an awful lot for that caution sign. There's nobody behind me, so I'm letting it do that. At least that gets the regenerative braking going, so it helps a little in a way. Whenever you go into different speed zone, if it doesn't switch, you can scroll up to change the speed, or you can just tap on it and it'll adjust to whatever your settings are. Need to remember, whenever you are driving, all your USB accessories may be running off the 12-volt battery, but that 12-volt battery is being maintained by your main battery. So if you have a lot of things plugged in, it's going to draw more power. I do have my USB hub plugged in. Great, but it can, buy you a mile or two if you unplug those. Relatively quiet on this road. There's a lot of little small towns, some interesting looking houses. Like I said, I would love to stop and explore, check out, but it needs someplace to charge first. Saying stay under 65 miles per hour to make it to my destination. But I'm looking at 42 miles difference in range. And like I say, the third-party app that few stats. It tells me I have an estimated range of 97 miles at my current consumption. Once I get to 50 miles, I'll drop it down to 70 degrees for 5 miles and see what happens. Right now we're still holding at 4%. And of course I have a pickup chart there are bumps and humps. Those are not just energy. So look at that. And it just recalculated for some reason. And it shortened my range. Did it remap me? Sure enough, it's trying to send me back to Laredo. So it automatically remapped me back to Laredo to charge. Because it doesn't think I'll have enough range to make it. So I'm going to drop this down to 70. Attention to what that says. Because right now it's saying if I turn around now, I'll have 28 by the time I get back to where I just left. So it's a good thing this is not a major interstate where I have to navigate on autopilot, otherwise it'll start taking the exit to turn around. Time it jumps like that, it's recalculating because it wanted me to turn around there and I didn't. So the next turnaround is 4 miles, but I'm not doing that. So yeah, this can get crazy sometimes. It's frustrating right now with Michigan trip. So now we have 96 miles. And on the recalculation it says 7% now. So now down to 6%. So we will keep going. Still averaging 301 watt hours a mile right now. It is 101 degrees outside. I think when I left Laredo, Texas, I was up to 97 or 96%. I was close to 98, I think it was. So I'm saying 4%. Here we're kind of up to 55 mile per hour zone. This map does take into account the different speed zones. So it looks at all that. This is Zapata, Texas. It looks like a fairly large, small town. It's not very big. Just driving, I do see a couple interesting houses here and there and buildings. I think this would be a cool little town to go in and check out. If anybody knows this town, have someone put a destination charger in. I would stop at one of the local restaurants and charge and have dinner for a while my car charges. It'll definitely get rid of the stress I have right now. And again, I am in a standard range, so you know, it is what it is. A long range wouldn't have this issue. They would have enough charge to make it between these two stops without any issue. When I can afford to get a long range, I will definitely get a long range. Or I get a Cybertruck long range. Whenever that comes out. But the thing is, when I say afford it, I'm not going out and financing a vehicle. I don't finance anything anymore. I'll have to pay cash for it. I have to save the money for the cash for that. The question is, would I trade in my vehicle? I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, I paid for the full self-driving on this. If anything, it will sit. And if robo-taxi ever becomes a thing, I would let it go and make some money for me while I kick back or drive with the other car. Even if it's a little bit of money. I mean, I've had this for a year now, and I've already put 90,000 miles. And I still get a little bit of range anxiety. But I've never been stuck. Now, I have seen other Teslas being towed because they ran out of gas or ran out of electricity and need to be towed to a supercharger. I've seen that. I don't see how that happens. Unless they're not plotting their course, unless they're not paying attention to their drive. So right now we're still looking at having 3% by the time we get there. So this might be a tight little return trip. I do love the sound of the rocks hitting the glass every now and then. This is kind of a neat little town. It's like right on a little lake area. It would be nice to go and explore. There is a Holiday Inn Express. It'd be nice if they would put in some destination chargers there or supercharger there. Again, I keep getting that little note coming up, stay below 70 miles per hour to reach your destination. Well, of course, I'm doing 45. That's below 70. Last I did the math. If we look at the chart here, 4%. Consumption saying instant consumption over the past 15 miles, projected 118 miles of range. I do average, it's projected 91 miles of range. Over the past 5 miles, projected 117 miles of range. 119. And we need 90. And when I came up here, there was a Tesla in one of these towns. I don't know if they just drove in from Laredo, if they were passing through or what. It was actually the only Tesla I saw on this route. Now, I think, worst case, if you really were in a bind I think you could probably go to one of the gas stations and ask them if you can plug in and use their 110 outlet for a little while. You're not going to get much range at all. If you do that, turn off the AC, disconnect everything in the car, nothing in the USB. You want to try to get as much into the car as possible without the car consuming anything that's possible. That's worst case. And if you buy a Tesla, definitely have like a 1450 outlet installed so you can charge at 240 volts at home. Don't try to run a long cord out around your apartment complex or anything to charge your car. I do not recommend that. Okay, we're now in a 70 mile per hour zone, so I'm just going to do 65. Because I do have 88 more miles to go. I know a lot of people just kind of will record highlights of a long drive and give you just the highlights of it. I'm just going to do the long drive, which I'll see what it's like. And I can ramble on about whatever. You know, I'm trying to figure out when SpaceX is going to do something, and was a little excited with the late night or late afternoon road closures and beach closures, hoping something was going on, but now they cancel those. Is SpaceX having issues? Are they having problems? Or is Jeff Bezos' lawsuits causing them to have to slow down? Tesla panic and not having enough range. Someone mentioned it seems like everything goes wrong for me. Sometimes I feel that way. Having that wrench get stuck, or that socket wrench get stuck in the side of the car. Very odd. Having a dump truck take out the side of my vehicle. Very odd. But then again, I have driven 90,000 miles. That is a lot of driving. And that is a lot of chances. I've driven even more in the Tahoe. But in the Tahoe, you know, a lot of that was going to work orders in different states and what have you. And just being pushed to the limits, chugging Red Bull and energy drinks just to try to stay awake for the drive and the work on the job and to the other job. It's like the people who pushes out the work orders, they don't care. It's not their problem. Your safety, they don't care about that. And that's one reason why I chose to go Tesla with the autopilot, with the full self-driving. It gives me more safety. more feeling of at ease to know that, you know, I'm driving right now. The car is on autopilot. It's handling things. If I was to doze off for a second, it minimizes issues. I'm not going to go off on the shoulder. I'm not going to go off on the edge, medium, and then wake up and try to overcorrect. So it makes it a lot safer. But you should not be doing that. If you're working a job and they're demanding you to drive nonstop and work. I mean, for instance, they wanted me to go to Nashville, Tennessee, install networking and everything in a store, set up their POS system for the new system from 5 p.m. at night till 6 a.m. the next morning. And they go from Nashville, Tennessee, drive to Dallas, Texas, and do another store. And get done at that store, and then drive from Dallas, Texas to Mobile, Alabama, and then do that store. 3 nights in a row. And no place close enough that you can take a break. Those companies should be held responsible for, you know, what they're doing. Even though it's an independent contracting type of work, for them to even think that they need to add a whole lot more pay and be more flexible in their hours. And I say that because I have a friend that he's still doing that work. And it scares the hell out of him. But he has the pressure to try to get to the next job site. But he doesn't know what to do if he doesn't have that job. And you know, if you're driving this route in a regular car, there's not much to look at. Some cactuses, some green trees, some fencing. Now it's saying stay below 60 miles per hour to make it to our destination. What's it going to say on the consumption? It says to pass 5 miles, we have an average projected range of 72 miles. I need to go 81 miles. So yeah, I may need to drop it down here. I'll drop it down to 60. And let's just, we'll turn off the AC for now. It's 98 degrees outside. So we'll see if this will, without the AC, if we can get a little extra range. Let's get a little toasty in here. Even though it's showing me 109 miles, it's telling me I have a projected of only 76. Let's go to instant. So right now, instant 116. Like I say, there's no destination charges. There's no third-party charging networks. There's no plug share outlets anywhere around here. So if you were to get stuck or get in a real bind here, I would recommend always carry a 1450 adapter and look for a campground. Hopefully they won't charge you too much for an hour of charge. If it can buy you enough range to get to your destination. But these long rides on Uber, you know, when you pick someone up, you don't know where you're going until they're in the car. And to try to figure out if I could make that trip, you know, you only have 15-20 seconds to accept a ride. And then from that, you have to decide what you're going to do. And you hope you can make that trip. And I'm sorry, you know, if you're hearing more road noise than my voice. I don't have an external mic. Or I think it's using the mic in the car. And some of these roads up here are quite noisy. Okay, so with the AC off, we're at 3%. We're in a 75 mile per hour zone. We're doing 60 miles per hour. There are gas stations along this route. Not that many, but there are some. But usually we won't have that much stress in a gas vehicle. And like I said, if it was a long range Model 3, I would not have an issue. Or a long range Model Y, I would not have an issue. It's just these locations where there are no superchargers for quite some distance. They really need to drop another supercharger in between these two locations, which I can understand them not doing. I mean, there's no major cities. A lot of the little towns, the cities through here, look like they're almost ghost towns. They look like they're abandoned or almost abandoned. So many boarded up businesses, so many boarded up houses. So yeah, would Tesla want to put a supercharger out someplace like that? And again, you know, originally they kind of want to route me up to Kingsville, which would have added an hour to my trip, or an hour and 30 minutes to my trip. But between Laredo and the Kingsville supercharger, and Laredo and the Mcallen supercharger, it's a shorter trip to Kingsville. But it's in a different direction. Of course, also, you know, if this car was brand new, its rated range then was 240 miles. I would have more buffer. So I don't know. Once I get to 100,000 miles, 120,000 miles, I might not be able to make it between these two locations. So Tesla should be able to allow us to change out the battery pack. we're going to need to be, you know, if they're not going to be putting superchargers in to make it easier on these type of runs or these type of legs, they need to be able to let us upgrade the battery pack when it's possible. And it doesn't hurt to have an extra supercharger in between two locations, because you never know when one's going to be down. So even for long range. You know, we had that issue in Louisiana last year with the hurricanes, and then the one in Lafayette went down. So you had just Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and then Houston, Texas. Nothing in between. And I'm sorry, nobody can make that trip. Got a lot of grids here, power stations here, a lot of windmills here. There's nothing here, but it wouldn't be a bad area to drop a supercharger. There is a nice, big, huge house there, and then nothing for quite a way. So I don't know who lives there. Looking at the trees, it does look like I am driving into the wind, so that's why I'm not getting as good of range heading back. Since the last charge, we have driven 77.4 miles. We've used 23 kilowatt, average of 295 kilowatts per mile. And now it's telling me to stay below 55. I'm still doing 60. AC off. I am going to, well, it shouldn't do anything but the USB hub. I'm going to plug that in. Driven 1 hour and 27 minutes. And I still have another hour and 30 minutes to go. So this is taking the standard range plus for a 3-hour drive. wind farm. And what I should say is, hey, my Cash App is such and such. Send me money. Mars Embassy, capital M, capital E, so I can buy a long-range Tesla. But no, that's, that's for me to figure out. That's for me to come with the funds. I'm going to turn back on the AC here and drop down to 55. Even though it's only 96 degrees outside now, temperatures are dropping. Right now this is coming up to 65. And in Starr, Texas. Starr County, Texas. You might see some of the wind farms over here. Rio Grande City would be good for a or Roma, Texas would be good for a supercharger location. But again, like I say, even a destination charger would be helpful. Now at 42% battery, with the projected 2% when I get to the destination. We're in a 65 mile per hour zone. I'm driving 55. So yes, I can drive 55. I have no cars behind me. Well, one way back there. So he'll have to deal with it when he catches up to me. Now, I know some people, have talked about using a little gas portable generator to plug your car into and charge from there. You would have to have an adapter for the plug so you can kind of make it think that it's actually grounded properly. I kind of wonder if they have a small portable gas generator that can kick out 240 volts. Instead of 120, because that 4 to 5 extra miles at 120 an hour. I don't know if I want to sit on the side of the road of a generator running for an hour just to get 5 extra miles. But yeah, if you look in this area on PlugShare or what have you, you don't find anything near the Rio Grande Valley or Rio Grande City. The first thing you have is a Mcallen. Between Laredo and Mcallen. But when you drive drive this route and you look at it, there's nothing here. I mean, there are some nice looking homes. You occasionally get a real nice home. Nice couple just white waving at me there. Elderly couple in their home. And some others just completely boarded up. I'm guessing some of this area is cattle farms or farming or ranches. Yeah, we're coming into Roma, Texas. Again, even on the map, you know, it has something over here. There's a wildlife preserve. It'd be kind of cool to check that out, but I don't have the range to go off course and check it out. And you see Dollar Generals everywhere. You know, if we can get a destination charger at every Dollar General, there would be no charging problems. Or a supercharger at every Dollar General. I've been in some pretty small little bitty towns, and they still have Dollar General stores there. I still can't believe that Jeff Bezos is not letting go and is now suing NASA and everything they can do to try to get them to pick their lander, to pay someone else to play with their toys. He should stop wasting his time and get those BE4 engines delivered so developed and start doing something. It's nice to know that he has a nice clean empty warehouse or production facility that's nice and spotless because there's nothing there. He reminds me of Nikola, that startup, that EV company, and the guy behind that, all the lies that he had. You know, I mean, where is everything that Jeff Bezos is promising? Why hasn't he gone to orbit? Why hasn't he launched anything to orbit? Why don't we see him doing anything? We see him doing court cases, suing, but never actually doing. Stop suing, start doing. Let's make that shirt. Hey Jeff, stop suing, start doing. Go back to flying your oddly shaped rocket to the edge of space. Should take another flight up and just take a peek and see what he's missing. Yeah, they want to try to say that there was a billionaire billionaire race to the space. But I don't think Elon was ever even attempting. You know, he's too busy. He doesn't have time for those silly games. He's working. And if somebody would stop these stupid court cases, and the FAA would just grant him, you know, permission to continue his testing, we can get somewhere. Yeah, we do have people complaining, save Rio Grande Valley, they don't want SpaceX there, etc. But, you know, we have a lot of wildlife preserves. A lot of them. Even NASA in Cape Canaveral is in a wildlife preserve area. For the human race, we have to be able to expand. We need to progress. So I think a little area like that, we can probably let it go. I mean, the Boca Chica beach, yeah, it's on the Boca Chica side, it's on that side. If you want to go to that beach, you would have to go to a beach, and not there, you have to come to South Padre Island. South Padre Island has a lot of beaches. They're nice. And they're kept pretty clean. Boca Chica Beach, every time I go over there, it's just being trashed. The people who go to that beach, they don't care. You know, it's even more work for NASA with their monthly cleanup on the beaches there in that area. Why is it their job to clean up other people's mess? So, you know, if SpaceX was to be able to get control of that area and shut it down, no longer letting people go to the beach there, have full control over that, and do their own development as they see fit, they can get a lot more done. They can get a lot more done. You know, working in the computer IT field, being a network administrator for companies and stuff, I know the bureaucracy that you have to go through at times to try to get certain software or hardware approved, and you're waiting for them to review and make sure it's okay with corporate, etc., etc., etc. And then by the time it does get approved, it's obsolete or it's too late. And your entire office has been shut down by a massive virus that could have been protected if you were allowed to do your job and keep things up to date. I mean, the corporation I work with, I got in trouble because I kept all my computers up to date. They yelled at me because they haven't approved the updates yet. They still have to evaluate and check out the updates and approve the updates. But then they got hit by a virus. So everybody else's besides my offices was shut down because of the virus. Because none of them installed the updates, because corporate never got around to finishing their testing to approve the updates in a timely manner. And I made corporate look bad. You know, that's similar to what SpaceX is going through in a way. They're sitting here, but they're waiting for the FAA saying, okay, yeah, you can use that bolt. Okay, yeah, that tower, you can build that tall. Yeah, the FAA doesn't know. No one's ever built a tower like this to launch or to catch a rocket. It's never been even thought of before. No one's ever launched a rocket this size. And, you know, it is liquid methane. and liquid oxygen. And methane burns differently than hyperbolic fuels, than rocket fuel. It does. Just like a gasoline car, the gas tank, gasoline does not burn. The fumes for the gasoline does. You have to itemize. Oh, sorry, my dentures are coming loose again. You have to atomize the fuel for it to burn. You have to turn it into a vapor, into gas form, for it to burn efficiently. And the methane in the Starship is liquid. And if you look at all the explosions, people will say, yeah, it was almost out of fuel. It was almost out of fuel when it blew up. It still had quite a bit of fuel on there. But every one of them was pretty much the same size fireball. Pretty much. Number 8, number 9, and number 10. If you look at the fireballs, they were pretty close to the same size. Even though number 9 only had 1 engine, fire, so they didn't have enough fuel being burnt, it still produced the same amount of fireball. By the naked eye, that is. And even Elon, if you look at the Tim Dodd's interview with him, even he says it's just a puff. It won't be a big bang type explosion. And I think that's correct. I think that's the thing. Only way to find out is to actually do it and blow it up on purpose. I don't want to do that. But, that would have been nice to do with, BN3 instead of tearing it apart. Let's take it out and move it to someplace and clear out an area and take it up and pop it and see what happens. Set off, a flight termination system on the ground there and see exactly how big of an explosion it becomes. I don't know if you want to do that anywhere near Boca Chica, but it would be an interesting proof of concept of what would happen. We can do computer simulations, but those are computers. It can still get things wrong. They're not 100% accurate. I mean, they try to be. They're very close. But a lot of times people are putting in, this is how many tons of liquid, or tons of methane there is in oxygen. If you were to ignite that, what would you get? And you get the amount of TNT force that's equivalent to. But that's assuming it's all in a gas form. It's already been put into a gas form. And it's not, it's in liquid form. And, just for an example, serial number 11, we didn't get to see the explosion. But we did have cameras that caught the parts falling on the ground. I didn't see in any of that camera footage of any flaming fuel hitting the ground. And that ship still had plenty of fuel for a landing when it blew. It blew right when those engines relit. So for how much time they needed to land that ship, they had enough fuel for that. We're still showing 2% battery on destination. We got 52 miles to go. Me yakking, it helps me with my stress, takes my mind off of it. I'm not going to obsess with it. I'm trying to relax here. It does kind of stress me. I can feel some of my muscles tensed from it. Right now we're in Roma, Texas. Like I say, this is a cute little town. It'll be nice to check it out. There is some buildings over here, like you can see this one over here. That really, yeah, look, it looks like it used to be an old bar or a restaurant or something, but it has seen better days. And there's a lot of other old buildings here. If they were to put a supercharger here, would this town grow again? Would this make it a good route for people driving on this edge of Texas, near the Mexican border? I think there is a border crossing here, so that wouldn't be too bad. There, for some reason, it wanted to go into the left-hand lane, where it shouldn't try to. So I had to override the autopilot, which is like only one time so far on this trip, or two. I think only one time. One other time was by accident, and another time was me showing it. And that one was intentionally overriding the autopilot because it wanted to go into the other lane. I am, stressed. I kind of want to stop and grab a hamburger. Burger Kings always have short lines now these days. Doesn't like anybody ever goes to Burger King. Maybe I will. I am just going to grab one Whopper and a large Coke because I am dying of thirst.
Give me a moment.
Okay. I think I had just a little bit to eat this morning, and that was it. Yes, can I get just a Whopper and a large Coke Zero?
The Whopper by itself, sir?
Yes, sir.
Would you like cheese on the Whopper?
No, that's okay.
No, I don't have Coke Zero. I only have Diet Coke. Is that okay?
Regular Coke then?
Regular Coke?
Yes.
That'd be a small, medium, or large?
Large?
Large Coke. Yes, sir. Anything else with your order?
That will do it.
Okay. I do have a special. You can take another Whopper for $1 more. Not sure if you're interested.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
All right, let's go ahead. Add the other Whopper for the Coke order. Yes, sir. Anything else with your order?
That will do it.
Your total will be $9.94. So I'll just take a window. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that's a good pressure sale. 2 Whoppers. Yeah. Burger King used to, I don't know what's happened. I used to always like their flame bulbs better, but
Good evening, sir.
yeah.
It'll be $9.94.
Can you do Apple Pay?
Excuse me?
Can you do Apple Pay?
Do we Apple Pay? Yes, sir.
This makes life easier.
I really like your car
Thank you.
and where you work.
There we go.
Welcome to the valley.
Y'all need a supercharger here.
You look all right.
Yeah, y'all need a supercharger or destination charger here.
Yes, sir.
You need a supercharger or destination charger here.
Oh,
Because Laredo and Mcallen.
For your vehicle?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
There's
won't find
nothing.
it. You're not gonna find anything in Stark County. I'm sorry.
They need to put one
I
here.
wish you should let them know because
Well, I mean,
that'd be something cool, like a cool town initiative. Like
even this restaurant, if y'all put destination chargers,
that would be nice. Like a
it
little.
charges slower, but then people driving through
These are
there.
an option. I mean, you get what, like 400 miles on these babies?
No, this one is a standard range. So I'm gonna get 220.
200. It's still awesome.
But if you had a destination charger, I'll be plugged up for an hour to charge, get 20, 30 miles, and then eating.
But I bet they're quiet and smooth. And,
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, that's a nice car. All I see is a bunch of trucks around here. I never get to see nice cars.
That's because there's no place to charge in between those two locations. Yeah. You might want to mention to the owner. But yeah, you might want to mention to the owner. It might attract more customers.
That would be a good thing.
Because I know when I go to Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh my god.
It's nice. Okay. You want those burgers? We got ketchup, we got napkins.
Okay.
Anything else I can help you with?
That's it. Because when I go to Roswell, New Mexico, there's no superchargers up there, but there's a McDonald's that has 2 destination
That's
chargers.
the place.
So I go there and I plug in there for 4 hours so I can get back out of there.
I bet it's full of people in your same situation.
Yeah.
They have to dine there.
And here it'd be perfect.
There's nothing like that here in Stark County. That's why we really don't see EVs.
I mean, mention to the owner, it wouldn't cost much. I think the destination charger costs like $500, and they can install it. And what a Tesla is going to use of electricity for the store is maybe $6, if
I'll let
that.
them know. Something like that would be nice. But again, you have a safe trip. Enjoy
You too.
your dinner. You want me to toss that for you?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Don't worry about that.
All right.
Sir, you have a nice night.
You too.
Safe trip.
All right. Well, as he says, he always sees his trucks. He never gets to see any nice vehicles through here. But yeah, this Burger King, the Whataburger, any place around here, the Pizza Hut, if they were to throw destination charges on there and get onto that list, you just may have more people taking this route and visiting. And when you got a restaurant that's dead, that may help. I mean, they do have some cute little shops and stuff here. It would be a cute town to visit. Here we have an ambulance coming. So I was waiting on that green light before telling Tesla to go, make sure that the ambulance wasn't going to turn. oyster bar up here. So far from the Gulf Coast, but when it comes to destination chargers, those aren't owned and operated by Tesla. Those are owned and operated by whoever has them there. Whatever hotel, they're paying for that. And that electricity that's being used is not that much for a business. When you're attracting a customer, you'll probably make that up easily. That's where a town like this, the city, should install the destination chargers in the downtown area or where a bunch of businesses are. To be able to those people. It doesn't have to be Tesla destination chargers. It could just be any standard charger that all the EVs can use. It would definitely help. And as I'm driving, I'm kind of looking around the business and whatever, just seeing if someone might have an unlisted charger hooked up somewhere. It does happen. Now I'm sure, you know, even if it's a paid one, plug share. If plug share can drop something in where you charge a little bit, here's an area for that. I have 46 miles to go. Car says I have 67 miles of range. The sun is going down, so the temperature is dropping outside. It's now about 93 degrees. I think that's helping a lot. This is a Tesla 2020 Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus. With a lot of miles on it. But the limiting factor for most people going EV is a lack of charging. Preferably DC fast chargers. But even a slow charger would be nice in these remote areas. Get a lot of customers at first, but at least you'll be ready, especially with the push to go to all EV vehicles. These small towns are way behind. Way behind. If I was to ask if I could plug into something, if I was to ask if I could plug into something, you know, it just going through life. You know, there are times when you spend more money than you want to spend. And you spend that money and you tell yourself it just wasn't worth it. You're upset that you wasted that money because you could just throw it away and get the same feeling. It just... we see something that we think we want and we buy it, watching what's going on in space. I'm loving everything about that. But on my wall in my house, the big 65-inch TV that I've only spent 4 hours watching, that I bought over a year and a half ago. I have 2 3D printers I've ever sitting at home I haven't really used. I mean, I need to figure out what to do. Buy someplace really cheap here, you know. If I can come with the money and just buy something for $15,000 or $20,000, it doesn't have to be much, and just move my stuff here. I don't know. I don't have any kids, so I don't have anybody to take care of my grass. So even though I spent this day here on this long drive going way up here, makes a little bit of money. It's better than nothing. If I would have took the long drive and stayed on the island, I probably would have made more money. But I also feel bad because this person's looking for a ride. He's trying to get someplace, and no one wants to do that long ride. And I try to help people when I can. Shoot, even on the island this past spring break, there were a couple girls that were broken down. Their car needed a new alternator and what have you, and I helped them. I paid the mechanic themselves. I talked to the mechanic themselves, so they weren't lying. There at the island, so I paid for the labor and the alternator for them, and so they can make it home. It gets to the point where I don't want to ask anybody how they're doing, because I'm afraid they're going to tell me the next time I'm giving them money. And even for the YouTube stream, I spend money on hardware. It's one thing to spend money on your recording studio to update it and what have you. When you're making money on your YouTube, I'm not making money on YouTube. I make zilch, but I'm spending money on it anyway. Will I ever make money on YouTube? I don't know. I need to get a lot more hours of viewed footage in. Watching a live stream doesn't really count. Replaying a live stream may count for hours. But even then, I don't know if we'll ever have that much income from that. But I have things to look at in my life, I've had this Tesla now for a year. I've already put 90,000 miles on it. How many more miles can I put on it? It's a standard range plus. I need to be able to do more, get more money in to get ready to replace this car when the time comes, when it just doesn't have the range, or to be able to upgrade it. I want to be able to take off to Florida and go catch some of the launches down there again. I was doing that last year it was about 9 or 10 different launches. I just didn't film any of them. I just went to see. I filmed one of them, the Crew Dragon Demo 2 mission. And from the Crew Dragon Demo 1 mission. Yeah, that's the one I filmed. It wasn't something that I was out doing. There's a lot of people streaming a lot of this stuff with SpaceX. A lot of people following SpaceX and all other companies like Tesla, all the other space agencies. What do I have to offer that's different? I don't know. Having the time to be able to get out there and get my angles that I think look good. Get pictures. 57 years old, staying on an island watching SpaceX in a hotel room with my cat, and I have no kids. So make of that what you want. Anybody who has kids, you're lucky. You know, you someone there that you can show them new things, take them new places, take them old places that you've been before that you just want to go again. You can relive your childhood through their eyes. It means something to be able to experience life and things going on around you with someone else. Experiencing it by yourself is okay, but it's by far more enjoyable if you can experience it with others. Same for going to a comedy show. You can go to it, does make the difference. Watching a Blue Origin launch being streamed on YouTube with only one person just giving brief commentary, and hey, it lifts off, it's off the pad, it's going up, it's disconnecting, and the chutes are coming, it's landing. Big freaking whoop. You know, it's nothing. It doesn't hit you. And even for me, just watching my video that I made of serial number 8's launch and landing back on December 9th, they're in the park, listening to everybody around, listening to their enthusiasm, their awe.